Wild card weekend. I've got champagne to toast to the Commanders. So excited for them. To the Texans. To all these OG running backs. These, they don't have any tread on the tires. We shouldn't pay them anymore. They're going to sit in free agency. They're not as valuable as wide receivers. We're celebrating you. We're celebrating you, OG running backs, all morning long. My parlay hit. I'm so excited. I'm doubling down, trying to create a little bit of a winning streak going on here in a frigid studio in Los Angeles. What did we learn? We're going to break it down. And we also have one game tonight. We got Vikings Rams this evening in Arizona. We have three-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro Shawne Merriman joining us. Playoff success. We're going to kiss goodbye to his Chargers. We're going to break it all down. And what do they want Justin Herbert? Bright lights, meltdowns, we'll talk about it. And host of ESPN and Omaha Productions, This Is Football podcast, Kevin Clark, stopping by because he's much smarter than me and he's gonna teach me some things. So much to get to. How will we ever fit this into 1 hour? That's what excellent producers are for. What a wild card weekend it was. Vikings Rams still to go tonight. But if we take just a peek at what's going on here in the divisional round, both one seeds playing on Saturday. Texans Chiefs, 4:30 Eastern on ESPN. KC, an early 7.5-point fave there. Commanders Lions, the nightcap on Fox with Mr. Tom Brady on the call. Very excited about that one. Washington, an 8.5-point underdog in that one. By the way, Tom Brady, so pleasant to listen to yesterday. I love that. Cracking jokes about double-fisting cigar and his cigarette. Loved listening to him. Then on Sunday, we get the winner of tonight's game at Philly on NBC. Early odds on that. By the way, if the Vikings win tonight, the Eagles would be 3.5-point favorites. FanDuel is all over it. Is the Rams win, then it would be a 6.5-point favor of Philly. Interesting. And then this is the most anticipated game. This is it. These two teams get to beat themselves up. Ravens-Bills on CBS to round it out. Buffalo favored by 1.5 right now at home. As for last night, Kevin Clark of ESPN joining us. Shawne Merriman is going to join us as well. So much defense, so much pass rush goodness, so much to discuss here. Last night, and I remember seeing it the first time I saw that it was a Sunday night game. I was like, very interesting. I love this for the Commanders. Little rookie, little Jaden under the bright lights. What will he look like? It was the best game of the weekend. Not even close. It was so fun. There were 2 punts in this entire game. Very, very few possessions, but they were exchanging fire, and it was all about Jaden Daniels. 4th straight week that Washington has come up with a game-winning score. He is Joe Burrow-esque in the demeanor. He does not flinch. He is unflappable. And yeah, they did this, then they doinked their way to their first playoff win since 2005. It's the culture that makes that doink go in, a la the doink going out with the Bears. It's the culture that makes it doink in. Jaden making all kinds of history as you're reveling in these highlights, as everyone is. First rookie to lead his team in passing and rushing in a playoff win. The run game was not there. It's something to keep your eye on. Kind of a, going into next week. But it didn't matter if he can overcome it. All these running backs doing their thing, James Cook everywhere, all over this playoff picture. No, the rookie had to put it all on his very own shoulders. He also becomes the first quarterback of any age, by the way, to have 0 turnovers and 0 punts. Tress Way, where were you? Chillin'. You were reading a book with A.J. Brown on the sideline, I'm sure. This is the first time that there's been a rookie 0 punts and a road playoff game since Peyton Manning in 2003. I've said it all year. I got to visit with this team. They wouldn't let me near Jaden. He had to earn his job as a starter, even though they all knew he was special. They all had the glimmer in their eye about what was yet to come with Jaden. They knew they would be here. And it was clear last night, not only does Jaden look immune to pressure, in the biggest of moments, bloody, bludgeoned, doing his thing. Does it bring out the best in him, potentially? Is he one of these sick pups that likes the pressure, that thrives in the chaos? I think so, and I love that. And the Commanders, they have the longest active win streak among the teams that are left. Talk about momentum. That is 6 straight as they head into scary Detroit next weekend. Loved that. I will say, Hamilton, And the run game thing was a big thing that I was really. My whole thing of the weekend is the run games. We need to readjust the way that the market looks at running backs. Like it is.
Yeah.
It's between the Saquons and Derrick Henry. Should we pay him? Should we not? Should we? All these. Josh Jacobs doing his thing even though they lost. Joe Mixon coming alive. We're going to see the same out of the Chiefs, I think, this next weekend. Like the run game's everything. James Cook. It's all. James Cook had 100 yards before I even took a sip of my beer. Like I was like, what's happening here? The running backs were the theme for me this weekend, and we're going to talk to Shawne Merriman about it. That's what stood out with you. In this game, Bucky was running everywhere. Washington did not have that yesterday. It'll be interesting to see how they overcome that or if they can get it clicking. But Jaden is, he's scary. Like in the way of he's just this at all times in a way that you believe it and you see it week in, week out watching these regular season games, but you never really know until you get, and we'll get to Herbert. You never really You never really know until you get into that position, and now we do. The proof is it's out there on the tape.
Yeah, because I mean, we see all these weird things happen. The playoffs affect players in different ways. It is a totally different animal, and there was still, I mean, there was no doubt when the Bucs hit that field goal that he was going to come right back down the field.
Zero.
That 3rd and 1 run was absurd to make sure the Bucs wouldn't have any time left when they kicked it. He just rises to every single occasion, and it's almost this is a hard comparison to make, but I'm gonna say there are moments that remind you of Mahomes early on when he would just find a way in situations where everything's stacked against him or everything's stacked against the team, that he just finds ways to make big plays in big moments.
Couldn't be happier for him. Couldn't be happier for Bobby Wagner, for Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, who's like, F everyone, I'm going to wear my hat backwards. Take that, everyone. No, what other coach in the NFL wears their hat backwards like that? He does. On this win streak, without the win streak, he doesn't give an F. He does not care. You had Magic Johnson living his best life after the game. Josh Harris talking about culture and people and talent and whatever. I do want to say, we were doing X Factors last week. We said that McMillan for the Bucs, we'll get to the Bucs too, that McMillan was going to be the X Factor. The way that we framed it, which makes sense because we said he's going to be the disruptor. We thought, Evans, Lattimore, whatever. We said Jalen McMillan is on social, is the guy who's going to send the Commanders on an early vacay. That went out on Twitter. Right away, Commanders fans were like, excuse me, you were riding with us, you flipped on us, and yesterday I'm like, go Command, and everyone's like, don't switch up. Commanders, you don't understand. Listen, I texted right away and said, whoa, I did not say that I did not pick this game, but I would not. So we fixed it, but it's still kind of out there, and I'm getting so much crap from Commanders, and I have to say, usually I don't say things or address them, but I love this team so much that I can't handle that that's out there. I mean, I like the Bucs as well. I did not pick this game. I just wanted the best team to win, and the best team yesterday won and is continuing their playoff journey. But please, Commanders fans, please know that I love you, that I went to your camp, not just this year, back when the Wolfman was out there. Hamilton, get back here. Come celebrate with me. Oh. Way back in that moment, and I'm just the biggest fan, so please, that's not what I was saying. I was saying McMillan is going to be the guy to look at in this game, and he kind of was. It wasn't a huge performance, but he still kind of did his thing, and so did Mike Evans and all of that. So we'll talk about the Bucs here in a minute. Commanders, I love you. I never didn't love you. Fool some I don't know the guy's Twitter handle, but I don't appreciate that, but I understand why you thought that based on the tweet. Okay, we won our parlay, Hammy. Stop taking Matthew away.
Yes, Derek.
He did. Derek, he's trying to just get rid of you. Me, the wolf man here. I kept seeing those ads for that movie, and it kept looking like you for a minute there before he turns into a scary wolf. We won our parlay, so we are. This is not. I'm not going to get got. It's not my birthday. Okay, yes. Oh shoot! Why would such a thing happen? Didn't go my eyes, suckers. There's people who act like they've been there before. There's people who act like they won. They usually win. I don't always win these things. So I celebrate. I declare victory when I can. Life is too short. Life is too short to not celebrate wins. So thank you to Scary Terry and Bucky Irving, who you don't like. I like him. I don't know why you don't like him. I'm a big fan of Bucky Irving.
Mike Evans, false narrative.
Jaden, 250 passing and rushing yards. We knew. Richard Sherman said Baker's petty. He's going to feed Mike Evans, and he did. And Mike Evans looked great. In all these things. So cheers to our part. And what are we going to do to celebrate? Am I going to get drunk at 8 in the morning?
Cheers.
Western time? Yeah, you drink that. Which one's worse?
Celsius.
Which one's worse,
Yeah.
Celsius or this? I think I'm the healthier one of the outfit here. We're going to run it back. I want a win streak. One thing about me, I celebrate wins, and I am greedy. I'm going to keep this going. We're running it back. Rams, Vikings. We've been duking it out with the FanDuel overlords all night long to try to get this bad boy on. These are the highest odds I think I've ever put together on a parlay. We did it this morning. They've got it up. I need better, first of all, I need better positioning on the site. Guys, lobby. Please tweet at FanDuel Sportsbook, at Up and Adams Show, at Hey K Adams. Like, we don't deserve to be in the cute little playoff part. I want the carousel. I want it to be right front and center on the app, FanDuel Overlords. Work on that for me. Fans, if you yell about it, we'll get it.
Just change the logo for the app to your face for the day.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
We got this big battle. This is good. Justin Jefferson, I think he scores. It was the first thing out of my mouth this morning. We're in a 5 a.m. meeting. I'm like, I want Jettis touchdown. We got to get Puka in there. 70-plus receiving yards. I like that. Then I thought, okay, who else do I thought Aaron Jones, anytime touchdown. I did think that. I actually think that's going to happen if you want to mix this up and it's no sweat, guys. But I think he's going to rush for 60-plus. We picked that because I like the line. And then you got to think who's the touchdown scorer on the other side for the Rams. It's got to be Kyron. Okay, he has scored 6 in his last 6 games. I love this. I love these odds. And the best thing about it, it's live on the FanDuel Sportsbook homepage, not where it needs to be. We need better positioning for this parlay. But I do want to say that it's no sweat. That means you can, if you don't trust me, you can play along. You can pretend you trust me, okay? You've got a built-in, it's okay, no sweat. It has to have 3 legs. We have 4. The odds have to be plus 400 or longer. If this doesn't hit, if my parlay does not hit, you literally get your money back in bonus bets. And if you're new, I want to say, to FanDuel Sportsbook, if you bet 5, if you're a new customer, welcome. Let's have some fun tonight. $5, and if it doesn't hit, you get $200 back in bonus bets. I think that's what it is. Is it if it doesn't hit, or do you automatically get? How does that work, Hamilton? It's a great question. If it doesn't hit.
Yeah, if it doesn't hit, you get your money back in bonus bets.
Okay, so I'd want to great up to 200. Okay, great. There's a great new customer bet. There's a bunch of other stuff. I think you had other stuff to put in there as well. We'll get through it throughout the show. This is going to be a fun show.
Oh yeah, this is it's getting more fun by the sip. Yeah.
Let's talk about Philadelphia. The Eagles. This was my Super Bowl pick. They're going to go to the Super Bowl. They looked great. Monster performance, especially defense against these Packers. Nolan Smith, 2 sacks, 3 picks of Jordan Love after he had just gone 7 straight games without one. Does Jordan melt down in big playoff situations? I don't know. The Packers defense did a great job. They kept him in this without Jair. The offense could get nothing going on the Packers side against Vic Fangio. I mean, if you're a Miami fan watching this, you're like, why could we not make it work with Fangio? They seem to like Fangio quite a bit. I will say this right now. I don't want to hear any drama making, any let's pull the thread and try to unravel things going out with A.J. Brown having 1 catch, reading a book, whatever. The offense having a slow start, putting up fewer than 300 yards yesterday. This team, the sexiest thing about this team is that they're built to win ugly. Twitter, you're not going to trick me into thinking there's something wrong with this one. I'm not going to ask the questions that lead. I'm with you, Philly fans. Philly fans don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it either. They did what they had to do. Ugly wins are sexy wins, okay? I have no doubt we're going to see them kick it into gear when they need to next weekend against the Packers. Isn't that gross? Do you not feel gross that Saquon Barkley took it easy on you? All this sportsmanship. If you're on the Packers, you had to have this running back take it easy on you. Ugh. If I'm a Packers fan this morning. I'm thinking, how do I beat a good team? And I'm thinking, do I need a wide receiver 1? Should we blow up this whole socialist vibe of not having one better than the other? Everybody's even, everybody's whatever. Okay, I'm already drunk. It's just what happens. This was Jalen's first game back after missing 3 weeks with a concussion. Brady was like, there might be rust here. Let's lower expectations. We might have seen a little bit of that early with a slow start, but he's settled in. You will not catch me doubting these Eagles in this pick your poison way. They're so complete. They will find ways to beat you. End of story. As for the Packers, I think I should have champagne on the show every day. I know there were a lot of injuries in the receiver room before the game, going into the game, during the game. The 4 penalties on the left guards after Jenkins went out, crazy. Ultimately, what's up with Jordan Love? Question mark. He tried to do a little too much. What cost them? I can't believe they were still in it after 3 turnovers. I couldn't, like, the score was so close. It was crazy. I'll say this, watching both the Packers and the Broncos yesterday, these are 2 teams. They're just like, they're right where they need to be. They're like 1 player, 2 players, somehow, just a couple of tweakments away from making a leap into contender status. And by the way, they both have about $50 million in cap space this offseason. I know that Packers fans are probably like, you're comparing us to the Broncos. Well, we need to recalibrate this because the Broncos, the expectations were too low. They completely outperformed, and we should have thought more highly of them going into the season. Packers, you're right there. They're right there with you. Whether it's in free agency, you add like a Chris Godwin, a T. Higgins. The Packers and Broncos should be fighting over Devontae Adams, rock'em sock'em style. Who gets him trade market-wise? I want to see both of these squads. I want you to go all in. I want you to be Nick Caserio-esque. Okay, go big this offseason to support these young, just right there, quarterbacks. We've got lots to get to on the show. I want to hit up the Bucks in the YouTube break. We are going to be back with Shawne Merriman, and we're going to talk a little Bills. We're going to talk a little Chargers. I also want to who would he like to face? Who would he like to face, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? Who would be an easier get for Shawne Merriman? He doesn't want to talk quarterbacks at all, and maybe we won't. We'll be back. I would just love 1 paper towel, and I got it.
Oh, boy.
Yes. But I didn't shake the bottle, and I don't know why this.
Cat.
I feel like I'm set up. Kat, did you shake the bottle?
BK.
She did. She goes, I'm going to go put this in the fridge for you.
BK strikes again. There we go. BK.
What are you
Bad
saying?
cat.
Who? What?
Bad cat.
No. Bad cat.
You
Bad
forgot
cat.
Yeah.
He's saying you're bad cat. Do you want some champagne? It's your birthday. No? We can do that secretly. Are we going to talk about the Bucks? What a heartbreaker.
Let's talk about the Bucks. Yeah.
What a heartbreaker, guys. I feel like we see weird stuff sink in at least 1 team every year in these bright lights of the playoffs, right? Tampa last night. Oh, Baker, that run over Bobby Wagner. This exchange issue, widely talked about on our group text chain between Matthew Hamilton and Chris Schwartz. And I mean, Baker, McMillan, how many times must you practice this? This was insane. Bobby Wagner scoops it. Then the early snap on 3rd and 1, it forces the Bucs to settle for 3 instead of a chance to do the whole go-ahead touchdown thing late. Here's what Baker had to say about the miscues. Let's take a listen. I haven't heard this yet. Oh, we don't have it. What did he say, Ham? Give me the gist of it.
Take the line out because.
Yeah, what's the gist of it, Ham?
So Baker took the blame for the fumble. He said he called for the snap too late, so he took all the responsibility on himself, and that's why.
I don't even think
McMillan
I can watch
him.
it. Like I bet I bet he looks so dejected. It's gonna be a while so I can watch a Baker thing. You hate when games come down to those kind of things, especially when Baker played so well. But that's a part of football. They kept, Romo kept saying it. It's no margin for error. He said it 90,000 times during the game that he was calling yesterday. Baker finished this one with this is the crazy thing. Baker finishes this one with the highest passer rating in a loss in NFL playoff history. That's bananas. That's better than Matt Ryan, 28-3 Super Bowl 51. Okay, that's better than Tony Romo in the Des Cottick game. That sucks. That must. What else can you do, right? Super impressed with Todd Bowles. Could not love him more with this season, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know it doesn't sting any less for Bucs fans, but man, what a season. Such a fan. Sucks.
It was, and they got their quarterback for a long time. So, it doesn't take any of this thing out, but man.
This is soaked.
There we go.
What a good weekend of football.
Who fresher than me? Who fresher than me? Nobody, most definitely. Who fresher than me? Who fresher than me? Nobody, and you get what you see. Who fresher than me? Who fresher than me? Nobody, most definitely. Who fresher than me? Who fresher than me? Nobody, and you get what you see.
I'm drinking champagne for breakfast. This man ate quarterbacks for breakfast. My next guest spent time with the Chargers, the Bills, amazing NFL career, 3-time NFL All-Pro, founder of Lights Out Extreme Fighting and Lights Out TV, which is streaming, by the way, the East-West Shrine Bowl practices, January 25th and 28th. Shawne Merriman, congratulations on everything, and welcome back to the show.
Appreciate it. I think I might need one of those drinks you having. So, it was rough this weekend.
It was for the Chargers, but we decided that my producer, Tiara, said, let's start with the Bills. How do you feel about that? Let's start with positive. Can we do that?
Yep, we could do that.
Okay, let's start with some positivity here. Josh Allen, one of the most impressive plays of the weekend. Unbelievable. 4th and 1. Here it is. Josh pulls off this pass to Ty Johnson in the back of the end zone. What were you thinking watching this?
It's just one of these things, man, where he just stepped up and, I think they're just taking that next step, right? Because we've been talking about the hump and them getting over the hump. I think this is the year, man, that the Bills can really get over that hump. And they're hurting you in so many different ways. That's really the thing. Him spreading the ball out, and this right here is a great pass, man. But just him being in a situation like this, being able to come over and do that, I think this is the year, honestly, that the Bills could get over that hump.
I mean, the hump is now the Ravens. Can they get over that hump?
That is a big hump to get over because, at the same time, man, the way the Ravens are running the ball, and the way what Lamar Jackson's doing right now, they look unstoppable. And I don't really say that about no team because anybody can beat any given week. But the key to success with them when they run the football like that, they're hard to stop because now you got a 2-man weapon back there. You don't know if Lamar Jackson's going to pull the ball out and start running or deliver a ball down the field. They just look dominant right now.
You love this Derrick Henry.
I do, man. He's one of my favorite players to watch, and he's like that old school type of running back. Just lower your shoulders. His stiff arm. I'm telling you right now, as being a former defensive player, man, his stiff arms are scary, and I don't say that a whole lot. But the way these guys are moving, the way they coming playing on defense. Chuck Smith, who was my pass rusher coach during the offseason of my playing career, he got these guys rolling up front. So I'm really happy for him.
I want to see the stiff. Oh, we don't have a stiff arm. That's not great. I want to see it. I wanted to see your visceral reaction. We had a couple of those this weekend. It was disrespectful. He just injects his will, very disrespectful, and I love that you love it. I was just talking to Hamilton, the theme for me not last night on the Commander side, they could not run the ball, so that's something to pay attention to, but every team with these running backs, these dudes who were they're old, they're whatever, the Joe Mixons, even the Saquons, the Derrick Henrys, it was all about the running back. I saw your tweet about let's pay the man, let's take care. What do you think this does considering the value of the running back position in the market?
Okay, to be honest, I think this resets the market, right? Woo! Because the running backs have been so devalued as of late, and we're seeing now that that's how you win football games. It'll never change. And I say this, every 5 years or so, there's a position to get devalued. The last several years has been a running back. But who's winning games right now? What teams are winning a lot of football games late in the season? Teams that can know how to run the ball. And, if you got a good running game, everything else falls in place.
Which running back performance outside of Derrick Henry impressed you the most? You had, obviously Josh Jacobs, Saquon was crazy. What impressed you?
Saquon. I mean, what Saquon is doing right now, and I was laughing as you talking on the show earlier about him taking it easy. I mean, I would feel pretty bad if somebody got to take it easy on me from not scoring and just get down to football. That was pretty bad.
Okay, talk me through this with the Saquon, because this happened, and I know people are saying sportsmanship and no ego. I would never. I am not. He would have gotten a touchdown easy, unscathed. Why did he do this? Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, I haven't. And if you look at his teammates when he got on the sideline, they were telling him to go score. They wanted him to go score.
I didn't see that.
It's an unselfish act. But at the same time, man, if you're the Giants, you're sitting around watching what's going on right now. It doesn't look good for them letting somebody like this out the door, because it could be the reason why they won the Super Bowl this year.
And then you're looking, and I saw there was at one point, you didn't get to see his face, but they got Howie Roseman's back of his head. And I just kept thinking to myself, you just love making people feel stupid. The whole, like, clearly, like, no one makes somebody feel as stupid as Roseman does, as Howie does, because you look at, obviously, the front office with the Giants, then you're looking at the Saints and Zach Bond and what he's able to do out there, like, at these crazy levels, and he just loves making people look stupid.
Yeah, I mean, you put Saquon up there and bringing him in, A.J. Brown, bringing him in. And some of these guys that the other teams really didn't value that much, and they found a way to get guys in the building who can produce. So, I think that everybody's going to take a hard look after the season. At the running back position, the key wide receivers is, kind of on the market. But I really do believe that after this year, the running back, market needs to be reset. Absolutely.
Okay, then who gets paid less?
Well, you got to start looking around the positions, right? Some of these, some of these quarterbacks. And I said this, and I don't know if this makes sense or not, but I think the quarterbacks need to be in a separate pool of their own. I don't think that it should really go against the salary cap because, some of these guys getting paid, Kay, like they don't deserve this type of money. Just above average quarterbacks is making 45 or 50 million a year, and your next best player on the team could be a wide receiver running back that's making almost $15 or $20 million less. So you really can't. You can't put a stamp on a quarterback being more valuable than the Saquon Barkley right now, because what he's doing is allowing these guys to win football games. Derrick Henry, what he's doing is allowing these guys to be on a possible run to a championship. So they got to look at the market after this year for sure.
Which quarterback's overpaid?
About 30% of them. Seriously.
You think a third of them are overpaid?
Look, I think that and I don't like throwing guys under the bus, but, look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence, and I think that probably having a new coaching staff might help him. I think he can play, but when you're talking about this level of how guys are getting paid, it's a lot of money to not go to the playoffs, to get booted. So I think they're going to have to look at the entire system, because I think the system is broken in how they're paying quarterbacks right now just due to the market. I don't think that's a fair evaluation.
Let's talk about A.J. Brown here. So, AJ, have you ever seen this? Shawne Merriman's seen it all. You've freaking seen it all. Have you ever seen a player, not even just, have you ever seen somebody just kicking it on the sideline, reading a book while action's happening? Have you ever seen this?
No, I haven't. And the first thing that came to my mind about him having a book in his hand and not reading it was LeBron. Right, that the memes about LeBron always having a book and only reading the first page.
Yeah.
But I'll say this: everybody has like their thing, right? We used to have players that would like listen to gospel music and stuff like that in the game or during it, like on leading up to the game.
Okay.
And I'm like, man, I don't want to hear anything spiritual right now because I'm going out here to hurt somebody for 60 minutes, right? I'm going out here to inflict pain. But you have guys that just have a way about them that it soothes them, right? Whatever needs to get for them to get back on track. So look, the way he's playing right now, look, I'll go buy you books myself. What kind of book you want, right? So read all the books you want as long as we're winning football games.
I mean, people want to stir up the drama with the Eagles that he's not getting the ball enough. That's why he's reading the book on the sideline. What do you make of that?
I think that at this point, they're under a microscope, right? No matter what happens, they're going to try to create some tension between Jaylen Brown and Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. Mm-hmm. And that's been going on all season. These guys were at one point very close friends. And, they had a falling out because maybe they wasn't getting the football. But I think they put all that to rest. They said several times that they're good. And, he's been reading the book all season, but why down, right? Why are they talking about it right now? Because they're trying to create that divide. So those guys, they've got to block out the noise. And this is not going to be the last thing to come up. They're going to try to divide these guys getting on their way to the championship.
The book is called Inner Excellence by Jim Murphy. By the way, it's #1 on Amazon right now. It is the best seller. Everybody in Philly bought it clearly this morning. And I love that. Let's talk. Are you ready? Are you ready to talk about your Chargers?
Oh, yeah. Pass that one over here to me. So, God.
Go. Let it rip. Shawne, let it rip.
The most frustrating part is that we all know what the narrative is going to be, right, about Justin Herbert. about this team. And look, he didn't have his greatest performance. In fact, probably his worst performance of the entire year. Just so happened to happen on the biggest stage. But let's not forget this. This team only won 5 games last year. They only won 5 games. And everyone said before Jim Harbaugh came in there that it was going to be at least 2 or 3 years before they get going again. They got into the playoffs with a team trying to figure things out, first year head coach, and no one expected them to be there. And so I want to say that, but overall, man, without kicking the Chargers too much, you got to give credit to DeMeco Ryans and that team. They're like playing with his personality. You can see after every change of possession, interception, or forced fumble, these guys running over to the sideline, celebrating. That personality, that character of DeMeco Ryans is passed down through that team, and they're playing great football right now. So without kicking the Chargers down too much and how bad they played in certain situations, I think people are not giving credit to Houston and that team and that defense especially.
I think they're getting a lot of 4 interceptions is crazy. I don't know what to make of Justin Herbert. You know how I feel about the Chargers. Yeah. What do you make of Justin? You're saying, oh, it just happened. I just spilled my champagne. I just fumbled. You're saying that it happened. It just you literally said it just so happens under these bright lights. He only has 2 playoff games, both not great, both memorably not great, both 2 of his worst performances. And it's not the coaching. Jim Harbaugh's doing everything he can. What needs to change with or for Herbert?
You know, for one, Herbert, when he gets on the main stage, he knows that all the credit is going to go to him, and all the people jumping in your back is going to go to him as well. So he has to perform better. And you would hope that some of these throws, a couple easy throws too, that he just threw too high, and it was bad pass and things like simple throws. You got to make those. But ultimately, you're going to throw a pick or 2 against a team like this. I mean, they had a great defensive plan.
Crazy.
And they came out second half, man. They were running stunts. Will Anderson, it's a funny story about Will Anderson. Matt Zentz, who was a writer for the University of Maryland football team, went down to Alabama. He was a writer for Alabama. He called me one day, Will's freshman year at Alabama, and said, you got to watch this kid. He reminds me a lot about you. He's a little light right now, but this guy can go. So since his freshman year at Alabama, I've been watching him close, just been a big fan, and they let him rip yesterday. I mean, him coming right here off the sideline, off the side of it when nobody blocked me. All of these are defensive schemes to create one-on-ones across the board, and sometimes a guy goes free. You gotta adjust to those things, man. Your best player or one of the best players on defense can't run free like that. You'll never win football games. What
was more impressive to you? Like, you're clearly a huge fan of DeMeco Ryans. He said, he was obsessed with his secondary. He was saying all these great things about his pass rush, and you're talking about Anderson, Danielle Hunter as well. What was more impressive to you, and why could it be effective against their next opponent?
Well, when you're playing that level of defense, you're going to create some turnovers. You're giving, C.J. Stroud and them another opportunity.
Chiefs do not turn the ball over. They do not. That's one thing they do not do.
They don't do that. So they're going to need a pick or 2 or some kind of way to turn the ball over. And like I said, I don't think enough credit is going to the other side of the ball. Like C.J. Stroud, I mean, he when it mattered, either when he's running the ball for a first down, or doing something to put those guys. The one scramble they had him in that 3rd and long situation, he delivered the ball down the field, and they got to you can't let those things happen and expect to win football games. So they had an opportunity yesterday, and I thought after the first half that they were going to come out the second half, readjust, and get back to it, because a few times this year has happened. But they just didn't readjust the second half.
What could they have readjusted? I'm trying to think. I've seen you at games. I know how you're so close to the team. What did you want them to adjust? What made Shawne Merriman scream and be upset the most about the performance?
I think the biggest thing for me is that you got to start throwing the ball down the field a little bit more to pose a threat. And I'm not saying that these guys are going to go out and make a whole lot of plays down the field, but if you keep throwing these, shorter balls, and you're not completing something, just to make the defense think that you have the capabilities of going down the field. They just never really posed a threat like that. And also, I hate to complain about the refs and everything else, man. I thought Derwin James, I thought that was a pick. I thought that was interception, which would have been a game-changing play for the Chargers. But overall, you got to make these certain plays by Justin Herbert, and you got to have a deep threat down the field. I think that's something that they're going to have to look at this offseason and get a big play. So just somebody to stretch the field, because you can't continue to run the football like that and don't have a deep threat down the field. At least you're going to make a play like that.
Quentin Johnston had this huge game, and then I was watching yesterday, like that should be his role. 5 targets, couldn't pull one in. That's sort of the issue. So I feel like they did take some shots downfield as I was watching it as a fan, and they just sort of weren't able to connect. And then there's just the secondary, which maybe is a problem for Patrick Mahomes, who knows how to work out 5 PBUs from Stingley, along with those 2 interceptions. It was that first interception by Herbert where I was like, this game, that just changed, obviously, everything. It changed everything for me down the stretch, and they could not adjust in the second half. It's a great point by you. Am I going to live in a world where I have to say bye to Khalil Mack? He's talking about his future in the locker room. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Speak on a definitive decision in the terms of what I'm going to do, because I don't know if I'm going to play football moving forward. So there's some things I got to talk through with my wife, and spend some time with my kids, and try not to make a rash decision after a loss. And try not to be emotional through this process, and trying to think a little more clearly. And that's going to take time.
What am I supposed to think about this?
Yeah, so look, he has a Hall of Fame career. If he stopped playing, he's done. He's a guy that's going to be up for the Hall of Fame, and it is a very tough decision. The only thing I would tell Khalil Mack, to be honest, is make sure you're sure being done, because you can't go back.
Ooh.
Right? It's once you make that decision, it's done forever. In my opinion, I think he's playing too high level of football to stop playing right now, especially if his body feels good. Because Kate, one of the things you want to do, like year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, you don't want to have that feeling sitting somewhere on the couch and saying, "Man, I could have came back for another year," right? You just don't want that feeling. So, if he was on a downhill, playing wise, or he was banged up, or his body just couldn't hold up anymore, then yeah, you got to be done with the game. But in my opinion, he's playing too high level of football. He's still very impactful. And regardless of whatever he does, he's going to be a Hall of Fame guy.
I'm happy you said that. He had 2 sacks in this game. I hope this wasn't it's always nice to leave on top, but I think it's great advice to heed. And can I give more? And I felt the same way watching Von Miller yesterday. I think the Broncos, being his old team, gave him a little something extra. He was in the backfield all freaking day.
Yeah, and Von is another one, right? And I'm not saying he's the Von Miller of 5 or 6 years ago, but when it counts, he can still go out and make plays. And that's the hardest when you walk away from the game is, what do I look like last? How do I feel? And what's going to happen if this be it? Now, again, if the Bills go and win the Super Bowl and you're Von Miller, maybe you might look at that. For Khalil, it's a little bit different. I think they got another shot in the next year or two to get back to where they are right now and possibly play further in the playoffs. That you don't want to just walk away from the game so easy, because they got another shot. If you're Von, they win a championship, yeah, you right off into the sunset. That's it.
I want to talk about some of these quarterbacks. Before we take a TV break, tell me what's going on with East-West Shrine Bowl quickly. I know you got practices, Lights Out TV, you're everywhere.
Yeah, we got the Lights Out Sports, my network. We have the East-West Shrine Bowl practices on the 25th to the 28th. This is going to be crazy, because we'll have cameras and stuff right up on the one-on-ones against the offensive linemen, the defensive linemen, the wide receivers, DBs. We got a ton of interviews.
That's awesome.
This confirmed list of players that we got for the East-West Shrine Bowl is insane. This is the 100th annual East-West Shrine Bowl year, and it's special. So I got the practice leading up into the big game, and we got a ton of big interviews and people coming out for it. And all these guys, they're trying to better their stock in the NFL and get their last look before they go into the combines and their pro days and everything else. So, make sure everybody download Lights Out Sports TV. It'll be free on every platform, and make sure you check us out. This was going to be good.
How the hell did you get the practices to this Shrine Bowl? That's a story for you and me another time, another place. TV break here, but we're staying live on YouTube. We'll get this content out there. Go download Lights Out. I gotta know, who did you talk to be able to get that? I'm so excited for you. That's so huge. We're talking these OGs, why they shouldn't leave the game, all of that. Can we just attack Jaden Daniels from your perspective? He is like this, unflappable. He's bleeding from his face. He's laughing before huge plays. He's laughing. How frustrating is it as an opposing defense that you cannot rattle this guy? How does Shawne Merriman rattle him?
This dude seriously got ice in his veins. I mean, I know that's like a quote that people use, but it seems like in big occasions, he likes it more, right? You don't see a nervousness about him. It's almost like, we have some of these fighters, obviously I'm in the fight business, and the guys gets repeatedly getting punched in his face and like laughing.
He likes it.
He loves it. He loves the game of football, but more importantly, big moments. And for a rookie to do this, I mean, it's unheard of because he doesn't seem like a rookie in those situations. You're right. You can't rattle him.
You couldn't rattle him?
For a long time.
You couldn't rattle him?
I mean, if you hit him, right? I mean, if you hit him, yeah. But the thing is, he's getting up. He's
crazy.
As you see, he's bleeding from the face. He's getting hit. But this is a guy who's consistently getting up and making big plays. And like I said, he's going to be a problem in that division in the NFL for a long time.
Okay, we have the Bills and the Ravens divisional round. Who would you want? Who, if you could get unleashed out there? We're talking Khalil Mack can't go back to the game. Put you back in. Who would you want to take down?
Yeah, this is tough because both of them are hurting you in different ways, right? I think on the offense side of the ball, Lamar Jackson has a combination with Derrick Henry that it would just drive me crazy because this RPO action that they're doing as an outside linebacker, it is tough to defend because either one of these guys can hurt you depending on what you do, right? And so on the other side of the ball with the Bills, man, Josh Allen is playing at a level that is just ridiculous. And I know we're talking a lot about the MVP race and how Lamar Jackson might have it wrapped up, but if you don't consider, Josh Allen up there and what he's doing right now, what he's done for that team all year, you're crazy.
Who's winning that game?
I think this is the year that the Bills got a shot to go all the way. And I'm not just saying that because I got this, this Bills 56 jersey behind me. But I really do believe that they've been there enough. And I can speak from experience when you're a team that's been there and you haven't quite got all the way there yet, they're seasoned now to go all the way. So I think that they get past the Ravens, which I think they can. They can go all the way this year.
Shawne, next Lights Out Extreme Fighting event on February 7th. Guys, check out the Shrine. All action on Lights Out.
From 37 to send Washington to the Final Eight. The Washington Commanders off the upright, and it is in! They doink their way to the divisional round! Unbelievable!
Huh, Kevin, I'm a Chicago native. It doinked in.
That's what happens.
In.
That's what happens when the football gods like your franchise.
Right. It's something to do with culture, I think we'll talk about. The host of ESPN and Omaha Productions, This is Football, Kevin Clark. That was the best game. I wanted it. I like both teams.
Amazing.
It was incredible. Their first playoff win since 2005. Jaden, incredible regular season. You never quite know until you get to that playoff situation. He crushed it. Unbelievable.
I haven't seen a rookie like this with poise, like the Kalijah Kancey play where he's got a really good defensive lineman in his face, and all of a sudden he just kind of moves to his right. Kancey takes the towel and he gets a first down. Like that's special stuff. And I've always subscribed. Like Bill Walsh had this really great quote that I think about all the time, which is that there's no such thing as rising to the occasion. There's just executing normally when everybody else starts to lose their heads, and that's what happens this time of year. And what Jaden Daniels is, and Peyton Manning was on my show. Sorry for the name drop on Friday, and he was talking about Jaden, and he said the thing that impresses him most, and there were about 10 things he said, but number one is that he looks in the fourth quarter like he does in pregame warmups, like completely calm, completely cool, collected, and you see that on the gotta have it downs with 45 seconds to go in the game, in the biggest game the Commanders have played in over a decade. It's just it's like he's out there in OTAs just slinging the ball. It's incredible to see that level of poise, and I would say some of it has to do, Kay, with how much football he played at the collegiate level, and that's the portal, that's NIL. Like it's so much. There's so much going on down at the college level, but it's helping quarterbacks quarterback development. And I joke, but I call them doctor quarterbacks because they go down there and they play 5 years. They play in a bunch of different offenses. They throw the ball hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, and they come to the NFL and they're ready to rock. I would put Bo Nix, even though we didn't have the same success yesterday, in the same bucket.
Two 24-year-old quarterbacks here on Wild Card Weekend duking it out. I just met Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon, Bo Nix Part 2. He's also 24. He's ready to go, and he's going to come in mature AF, dealt with a lot of things, different teams, ready to go. What does the culture have to do with this? The doink going in, Josh Harris saying talent people, I forget what talent people culture, like that made this happen, in my opinion. And I think that the same thing's going on in Denver with Peyton.
Yeah, so it's funny because Josh Harris had the best job in football last year, which was he wasn't Dan Snyder, right? Like that's an amazing job because anything you do, oh wow, this is so much better than Dan Snyder, and everything that they did in Washington, whether that was RG3's rookie year or trading for Alex Smith, anything that would get a normal fan base excited, it was always tinged with, Snyder's going to screw it up. So immediately Josh Harris is the most popular guy in town. But that only gets you about a year of goodwill. You got to start building on that. And they come out and they obviously hit a home run with not only the head coach, but the offensive coordinator. I was wrong on both. I doubted both hires. Hand up, that's on me. I didn't see that kind of success coming. I thought Jaden Daniels was going to have a really high floor year one. I thought it'd be exciting because he could push the ball down the field in the SEC. I already detailed kind of the experience that he had there, but I knew he'd be able to do a handful of really hard things well in his rookie year. But I think, Adam Peters, I talked to him a little bit in training camp. I could get a sense everything was going to be well thought out. Hiring someone like Bob Myers from the Warriors to just be a consultant. I think Rick Spielman was involved in consulting last summer with the hires. Like everything seemed so well thought out. And in Washington, that was never the case before. It was whims. It was, we're doing this because someone's in a petty feud with somebody else. Like there were, 5 or 6 factions in the facility at any given time because this person's aligned with this. I mean, it was Game of Thrones. And now it's good vibes only. And I think that's the biggest year over year, 2 years over 2 years culture shift that we've seen in a long time in the NFL. It starts at ownership. I mean, my thing is, you mentioned the Bears, not to go down this rabbit hole, but the longer I go in the sport, the more I realize it's really just ownership, and everything is downstream from that.
It's so true. And gosh, it's so true.
Yeah, and so if you're a team looking to learn lessons from Washington, it's hire the right people and let them work.
Let them work, let them do their thing, and pick a great quarterback who's literally Joe Burrow demeanor. He's just giving Joe to me. Like when the doink happens, everyone's losing their, and he's just like, yep. And he just trots out there and is like kind of happy. It's incredible. when you mention ownership, it's something that I often say. Like I think my training camp tour is like a real glimpse into that. Yeah. And you go to certain teams and you can just see top to bottom. It works like this. The Eagles are that. When you go to the Eagles and you deal with their PR and they're this and they're that, and you see Howie and Jeff's in charge and like it all trickles down, like they are just that. They are a well-owned, well-run team. And Howie Roseman just makes everyone look stupid around the NFL for the Bond, for the Saquon, for all of that. And this defense looked insane. How did they do this to Jordan Love, or did Jordan Love do this to himself?
Well, I was going to say, first of all, on the camp tour, you mentioned all of those highlights, but you did see me in Buffalo.
In Buffalo.
Did that help that particular trip?
I mean, that's why they are where they are. Maybe you'll have an MVP to thank for it. Doubt it, though.
I agree. All right, so with the Eagles, I mean, first of all, it's roster talent. Like, and a lot of the things that we ascribe to, like this happened with the Ravens and the Steelers on Saturday night, where everyone's like, the Steelers quit. They couldn't tackle. Patrick Queen made a business decision. No. The Ravens are a lot better, 1 through 53, than the Steelers. And so some of these things that we look like, the Steelers aren't physical. The Steelers are over pursuing Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry on the read option, whatever. No, it's because they're a lot worse and they have worse players. That's typically the number one reason for anything. And when I look at the Eagles yesterday, they had advantages in basically every position group on the field, every single position group. And I was surprised. I picked the Packers to make the Super Bowl before the season. I wanted that defense to make a bigger leap than it did. It did make that leap yesterday. It was just the offense that didn't show up. And I almost said a much harsher phrase. I don't know. I don't know the curse word policy on the show. But it was the offense didn't show up. And I was hugely disappointed by that. But if you look at the Eagles, they have Zach Bond, who, Vic Fangio basically said, this guy's a linebacker, this guy can play for us. And now all of a sudden you've got him basically on the best veteran deal in football when you consider, he's going to get paid eventually. But he's made like $1 million to be one of the best linebackers in football, if not the best this year. You've got all of these guys they take a flyer on. You've got the defensive backfield, which has been remade with 2 rookies who are going to be good for the next decade. Howie Roseman knows how to run a football team, and he doesn't overthink it. He takes these flyers on guys where he likes the traits, and he says, we're going to do something good. Jahan Dotson scored a touchdown yesterday. He hasn't been amazing this year, but it's like, hey, let's get these guys for low value. If you've talked to Howie, I'm sure you have, like everything just seems so thought out. Yeah. Everything, he understands exactly what his team needs at all times. And I think that he's one of the biggest assets in football. Yes. And, Thomas Mitroff was on my show last year, and I was talking about different GMs, and he was like, Howie is the one guy who, if you call them about anything, he'll say, give me a second-round pick. And they'll be like, Howie, be reasonable. And he's like, no, give me a second-round pick. And you have to almost yell at him, but that's great. That's what you want a GM to do, right? Like, you don't want your GM to be like, we don't really like him. A 6th-round pick is going to be fine. No. Start the negotiation at a second-round pick for the worst guy in your team, and good things will happen. If I could have, I don't have an NFL team. I have a college team. I would love Howie Roseman to run the University of Miami. Come on down. Be the GM, Howie. But if I could do anything, it would be have Howie Roseman be my GM, because he just understands what his roster should look like. Now, the tax you pay if you're a coach is, I think you're under pressure a lot, because they give you a good roster. You better win a lot with it. But I think most coaches will take that deal.
But even I think he operates, but how can I make everyone look stupid? How can I make the Giants look dumb? Also, like Dolphins, like you idiots, like talking whatever about Fangio, come on in. Yep. Come make stuff out of these guys who we got that maybe nobody thought that they'd have any production out of. It's really quite incredible. And then you mentioned the Steelers. I want to get into the Tomlin with you of it all, because this is now 6 straight. I hate to see it. Schefter is reporting, you're with ESPN, reporting no indication Pittsburgh will move on for him. What should happen here?
If he wants to come back, he should be able to. The comparisons to Andy Reid were a little silly, I thought, Andy Reid in Philadelphia, because Andy Reid had 1 year after this that was a total disaster. After the kind of mediocre stretch, total disaster. And he did a couple of weird things, like he hired his buddy who was an offensive line coach to be defensive coordinator. They did a lot of weird stuff there, and it just seemed like the end. So I think that, and I felt this way about Belichick too, you always give those guys a year extra than you would. And the one thing I was wrong about, so I thought Belichick was going to survive last year, and then it got so bad, and then somebody in New England was like, well, maybe last year was the bonus year. Maybe he's got an extra year. So it's like, oh, when you think about it that way, okay, I understand. I don't know when the clock starts on the bonus years. But for me, I think Mike Tomlin is the best coach for the Steelers right now. And Mike Tomlin would be the best coach for the Bears. He'd be the best coach for the Jets. He'd be the best coach for the Saints. He would do all of those things. But I think you give him the opportunity to fix this. He's shown enough, and who are you going to get? And the other thing is, the Steelers are not a rash organization. They're not going to say, hey, I didn't like that playoff game, you're out of here. They've had 3 coaches since like 1969 or whatever it is. And if they were thinking about moving on, the exit would be graceful. It wouldn't be like this. It wouldn't be a random Monday, January 13th at noon firing. Okay, that wouldn't happen. But then the other part of it is they would spend a long time scouting the replacement. It wouldn't be a week of, hey, we're going to interview 30 people. Like, there's a reason they were able to find Bill Cowher, a relative unknown. I think he was defensive coordinator with the Chiefs. Mike Tomlin, same deal. Like, it wasn't like he was a buzzy head coach candidate. I don't remember, thankfully,
do you think
the
Mike's
Chuck Noll.
Thinking he's
know.
Not thinking maybe I want to. You don't think is it all? I don't know. Like, does he want to go back and at what point? So like next year, if he doesn't figure it out, then you fire him.
Yes. Well, or just say, hey, maybe we should trade you or something like that. Just have that conversation.
So you're giving him one more year. Why one more year?
Yes, I'm giving him a bonus year. But why? Because he has won a bunch of games for them.
Yeah. So he'll win a bunch of games next year for them, though. So like, where do you then draw the line? It's interesting. I don't know when you decide like, let's get divorced. We love each other.
But if
let's
he
move our
wins a bunch
separate
of games
ways.
from next year, then you don't fire him.
Yeah.
You're not giving him like
I don't think you should
it's not going to be like a Coach K going away thing where everybody gives him a present before the game. It's more like you get a year to prove yourself. He's not going to be Mariano Rivera getting, a canoe or whatever the heck they were giving him pregame when he was leaving. But it's more of you get a year to prove yourself, show us you're on the right track. The Kenny Pickett pick set them back, I'd say, years. It's really hard to overcome a bad first-round quarterback. Even the Niners struggled to do that, even though they had an amazing roster, an amazing coach, and they had on Brock Purdy. Like, they would have certainly liked to have those extra first-round picks they spent on Trey Lance back because it would help their old, expensive roster. But I think if I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm looking around saying, what's a situation that would be good for me? If Mike Tomlin said this is getting stale, what's better? You don't want to go to Chicago with that weird structure that no one knows what's going on. You definitely don't want to go to Dallas. And what the heck's going on there? The Jets are the Jets. Like, you're looking around going, I don't know. I mean, like, is there a case to be made?
Let's do the Peyton program. Let's bounce. Your network would die to have him. Every network would die to have him. I've been hearing this for years. Whatever it would take. It's like truly the inner battle of networks trying to figure out where CBS, of course, that makes the most sense. Who can get, why doesn't he just take a breather if it's not out there? He has so many options is my point. It's so interesting that he's still, I know he's just, I wonder what he's thinking because at a certain point it's got to be alluring, the thought of wearing a suit, or does he hate it? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know him well enough, and I don't know how many people do know him well enough to be able to kind of put themselves in the mind of Tomlin and say, okay, he'll want to do TV or whatever.
He's the belle of the ball.
Yeah, but the Saints were in a worse situation than the Steelers are now. Steelers are still making the playoffs and just not rising above that.
But they can't find their quarterback. It's very similar. You had Ben. It is similar, Kevin. You had Ben. He did his thing. Since then, you've kind of haven't figured it out at the quarterback spot. Saints were similar. You had Drew, and you kind of saw the writing on the wall, the salary cap. Sure, I see what you're. Right. It's just interesting to think. I think the best thing is, I think what you said is totally right when we started. It's Tomlin should get to do whatever he wants, kind of. Yeah. He wants to come back. You gotta let him come back.
He's earned the right to fix the problems. I think you just need to set clear expectations if you're the Roonies and just say, hey, we really want to get you, we want to get back on the level of the Ravens and the Bills and the Chiefs. And let's not be the 5, 6, 7 seed anymore. We've got too much talent for that. I think the roster, look at the roster. I mean, it's a top heavy roster. It's a top heavy roster. And, I told the story the other day on the pod, but, I went to camp there this year and Aaron Smith was there addressing the crowd. And I was thinking, man, Aaron's that's a type of guy. They used to have 20 of those guys who were just solid B+ players. And now it feels like they got TJ Watt and Cam Hayward. And then the roster behind that just isn't very good.
We have to go. You're the absolute best. More on your pod. You're going to break down the Ravens and Bills. Give me one sentence what you're most looking forward to in that matchup.
I mean, it's the quarterbacks, but I'm looking to see if that Bills roster that made great adjustments on Sunday makes adjustments against Lamar. Okay, I love the pencil. I love the whole shtick. You're the best. Peyton Manning was on the show. Go download it and listen to everybody. Thanks, Kevin.